Welcome to Storytime with Tallulah. Today's reading comes from r/relationships. Our first story is titled, My Boyfriend's Mom Knows Me Better Than He Does, and I Feel Weird About It. I'm a 23-year-old female and he's a 25-year-old male. So, let me say first that my relationship's beginning was extremely unorthodox. I was seeing a trauma therapist and at some point decided to get back into online dating. I scheduled a date with one of my matches, and once he and I met and started talking, it became clear to me that he might be related to my therapist. His profile didn't have a last name. Theirs is super common anyway, and he listed the state he went to school in, not the one they're from. However, their dog's name is unique, so that was a dead giveaway. I immediately asked her permission as to whether or not he and I could date. She said absolutely. She and I would just have to break up. We terminated therapy, and he and I have been dating for a little over 6 months now. It's great. I love him and I adored her already. She was my therapist, but we got along on a more personal level, and the transition from professional to friendly was very easy. The issue is that, of course, I told her things that I wouldn't and probably will never, ever tell anyone else. I was seeing her for PTSD and trauma counseling. She has been so kind to me since terminating. There really hasn't been anything outwardly awkward. I see her as a wonderful friend and my boyfriend's mother, though I will say I didn't think I'd ever eat dinner and watch movies at a therapist's house. He of course knows she was my psychologist. I have shared some of my story with him. He's been extremely supportive, but when we're all together, she can read me almost immediately. I assume these things take time and he'll learn. But the depth of the connection that she and I have is of course imbalanced compared to he and I for now. I am uneasy and I want to feel like I'm sharing things with him too. He's very aware of how familiar she and I are with each other, and I feel that he gets jealous at times. Anything I'd say to him about myself, she already knows. Maybe it's about making new memories and new struggles that I don't share with her? There's also the matter of our families interacting. My parents know she was my therapist and she knows everything about my family. And it's not all good stuff. A lot of it's bad. I don't doubt her ability to be professional. It's just daunting to think of them meeting each other. My parents are kinda meh about believing in counseling. I worry he or I would be put in the middle of something. I guess my question is, how do I go about resolving this? I know it's a very weird situation, but I love them both, and I know they love me. I just want to make sure I am navigating this rationally. Edit. Thank you so much to everyone who responded. It's given me a lot of great insight. I've gotten messages about how we should consider breaking up, it being unethical, etc. I figured I'd post a portion of one of my comments on the matter. I'm concerned for my boyfriend's emotional well-being and ensuring he feels validated and loved. Throughout my life, I've learned that people who care for you are the most valuable ones in existence, and finding unconditional love and support is rare. I found those things in their family, and although of course I can't predict the future, I don't see any good reason why I should willingly walk away from a situation that is affirming and makes me happy. My stress over this one issue isn't worth giving up valuable relationships, unless it's truly hurting him beyond repair. When I say I love them both and they love me, that's the human truth. I wasn't manipulated into this and neither was he. She told me that objectively, it doesn't matter who I date. It matters that I feel secure, loved, and cared for. She stressed that I can make choices for myself, and whether or not he is the one to provide that for me, there are not any hard feelings or animosity. I feel no obligation towards either of them, besides those that are normal for a significant other. So, breakup is not currently an option. Well, I hope you get that all figured out. I think it's kind of crazy. Wouldn't it be crazy if it was a plot twist that she set him up and put him in your life and got together because she wanted to oversee? I don't know. That's crazy. That's like a movie plot. No, I'm sure everything's fine. It sounds like, honestly, I don't know. I don't think it's much of an issue. I feel like, I don't know much about that though. I don't know. I haven't been in that situation, so I don't know how to go about it, but it doesn't sound like it's that crazy. I guess if he's feeling jealous, then maybe talk about that, work through it. And I think, making memories together about things that the mother doesn't know about because there's new things for you that you haven't talked to her about in counseling because you don't do that anymore would be great for, between you and him. That might help. I don't know. We'll see. Anyways, our next story is titled, How Do I Deal with My Employees' Constant Questions About Unrelated Topics? I'm a 40s female and she's a 20s female. Dear r/relationships, all identifying information has been altered. I am one of 3 leaders who work with a group comprised of 2 teams. Widgetiers are the more experienced group. They have job duties that require working independently. Widgetites are entry level. This is usually their first job in this field. They are not as independent while they learn. One of our widgetites, Ella, is very smart and very ambitious. She's a great worker, but she asks clarifying questions all day, every day, and is always concerned. She also drags others into these questions by saying everyone is concerned. We used to address the group in response, but we quickly realized only Ella was concerned. No one else knew what was going on, which caused more confusion. Ella desperately wants to be a widgeteer, but she won't stop with the questions, and these questions are barely related to widgets. We make widgets for zoos, and our widget making is heavily regulated. The workflow document explains these regulations, includes links to the regulating body, and has a step that says add 2 plus 2. The expected result is 4, which is widget regulated. Ella will learn this and email the leaders with, I am concerned. The zookeeper regulation says 2 plus 3 should add up to polar bear. Additionally, why are polar bears white? Everyone is very confused. Could you provide clarification? In a coaching session a few months ago, I told her she was a great worker and a good researcher, which are important qualities in a widgeteer. All true. I then mentioned that the polar bear questions are a bit off topic and she's spending time researching polar bears instead of researching 4. I suggested that when she has concerns, she could add how that concern affects her work so the leaders can better address them. I also welcomed her to add possible solutions because I appreciate her research skills and solutions are part of widgeteering. The other leaders have approached her as well using different tactics. The only change was that her polar bear concern emails doubled every time she was coached. We didn't think that she was rebelling with this response to coaching, but we're not sure anymore. Compounding our problem is that she is one of our best workers, so she clearly has extra time to learn about zookeeping regulations instead of widgets. We're also wasting our own time dealing with her. I don't know if this is a result of ambition, obliviousness, or something else, but no one wants to deal with her anymore. So r/relationships, any ideas on how to get through to her? Sincerely, not a zookeeper. Edit. Thanks for everyone's thoughtful responses. I very much would like to help her reach her goals and move up, but I was getting stuck with my frustration. I do try to explain the whys to everyone, but I can always do better. I never considered ADHD or anything not neurotypical, which was helpful to read. I realized that she's ultimately responsible for managing that herself, and it isn't like I can ask about it either. But reading all your responses made me remember that there is a human being inside those questions. I hope I can help her. I agree with the people who said she'd be a shame to lose. And to everyone who relates to Ella, please, please, please tell me how you'd like a manager to approach you, or what you found helpful. The original post was written out of frustration, but I think Ella has a lot of wonderful qualities that are so very worth developing. Well, I think it sounds like you were decently patient and, if you got frustrated, you vented a little bit, but now that you've reflected on it, then if she's a great worker, it sounds like she's just very ambitious and kind of an overachiever and wants to do the best she can, and she'll look into something, and if she doesn't understand, she goes off to try and explore and find an answer, and she's looking up to you as a mentor. That's why she comes to you and says, hey, I'm concerned. I think saying we're all concerned about this, that's a little misleading. I don't like that, but I think everything else is just her really trying to learn and looking up to you for answers because she respects your authority and expertise in the field. So I think it's a matter of just working through it and understanding that once she gets all that clarified and she feels confident that she can then find answers herself, or she is able to eventually be promoted into the higher position, then she'll be a great asset to the team because she'll be so qualified and assured, and obviously be able to find her own answers at that point, or at least work in a group. And I think a lot of research is working with groups too, right? And coming to conclusions based on other people's findings. So I don't know. I think it might be frustrating for you, but ultimately it sounds like that's a very good worker that's going to put in a lot of awesome contribution to the teams. Our next story is titled, I don't want to keep in contact with my stepfamily now that my mom has passed. I'm a 26-year-old male and she was a 68-year-old female. A bit of backstory is needed. So my dad left me and my mom when I was around 4, and my mom sort of rushed her way into a new marriage. When I was around 6, she remarried to a nice enough guy who had 2 kids of his own, a girl and a boy who were 6 and 4 at the time. They spent 3 weeks at our place and 1 week at their mom's place. It was always an awkward situation because we met met maybe 3 times before our parents got married. I think they were both had young children and wanted them to have a father/mother figure in their lives. They were never bad to me, and sure, we had dumb kid fights, but nothing really serious. I did always feel like the odd man out, and I didn't like it. Like, for example, they had their own things they do and play with each other and just flat out refused to include me, or would be watching a show or something and turn it off and leave the area if I came. Or they would flat out say I'm not one of them and to just stop trying. This went on until we were like 16 and 14, and I just stopped interacting with them altogether. There was no big fight or anything, but at 19 I moved out and kind of went low contact. I didn't need to see them and could get away with just one visit for Christmas to go see my mom. I am 26 now and live with my girlfriend across the country from where my mom and stepdad live. Sadly, my mom passed away about 5 months ago. We already had the funeral and I picked up all the sentimental items with me. I only really kept in touch with that side of the family for my mom, and now that she's sadly gone, I don't feel a reason to continue to see them. It's hard enough keeping money tied down, and flying out to see people I'm not the fondest of doesn't really sound good at this point. I told my girlfriend my plan that we will no longer be going over there for Christmas, and she is saying that I'm going to regret this and wishes for me to reconsider. Advice on all this or what I should do. Edit. I will keep in contact with stepdad, but I was wondering about the rest, siblings, aunts, uncles, grandparents, cousins. Well, I feel like if you had a long connection with them, then I mean, naturally, I would probably think that you should keep in contact with them. But I mean, it's your decision. I don't, whatever you feel, it's your decision. If you don't feel like they're important to you, then, and they contribute nothing to your life of value, then I guess, cut them out. But if you feel like there's some memories there and there's some bonding that occurred throughout your childhood into adulthood and all that, and it's worth salvaging or keeping, then keep in contact and go visit them. And if you can't visit them, then keep in contact. We have the internet. You can communicate through phones or whatever social media you use. I'm sure there's a way of staying in contact with them. I don't think you should fully cut them out, but again, it's your decision, and you know how you feel from growing up with that. I don't. So our next story is titled, "Is it worth it to try to work things out with my boyfriend who is jealous of my stepbrother?" My boyfriend, a 19-year-old male, and I, a 19-year-old female, have been dating for just over a year. We're both in university and currently taking online classes due to the lockdown. When they announced the transition to online classes, I decided to move back to my mom's house about an hour and a half away. My town is a bit of a student town. There aren't many grocery delivery services and I don't drive. I didn't want to rely on the reduced bus service. My boyfriend tried to convince me to move in with him, but I refused because I didn't like the idea of being an illegal tenant in a house with 4 guys and 1 bathroom. My boyfriend was not happy with this. I've been back for 3 weeks and things have been tense, especially surrounding my stepbrother, who is a 22-year-old male. My mom remarried when I was 15 and she moved her new husband and his son in. I've known stepbrother for 5 years and our relationship was always friendly but distant. He's lived at home the entire time and worked as a bartender prior to the quarantine. Ever since I moved back, boyfriend has been on my case about spending too much time with stepbrother. He gets really upset because we drive around aimlessly every day. I'm on a learner's permit and stepbrother is helping me practice while the streets are empty, and the fact that we hang out and watch stuff together. Heather weather was nice this week, and stepbrother and I decided to eat our lunches in the backyard, picnic style. Boyfriend freaked out when he realized, accused me of going on quarantine dates behind his back. I didn't even tell him this. I guess he stalked stepbrother's Instagram story, and it wasn't a date. We were going into week 5 of quarantine, bored out of our minds, and doing anything possible for a slight change of pace. Boyfriend called me yesterday and told me that he was unhappy, felt disrespected, and that I needed to make a change to keep the relationship. He told me that stepbrother and I are not like regular siblings. We didn't grow up together, and so he's afraid things will escalate between us. I think this is gross. Stepbrother is not someone I would ever consider dating, and I'm certain he feels the same. Boyfriend told me that I would need to stop hanging out with stepbrother and spend more time FaceTiming and texting. Currently, we FaceTime every day, minimum 1 hour, but he said his ideal would be 3 to 4 hours. I think this is crazy, and part of me wants to tell him to shove it, but we had a great relationship before this, and another part of me wants to fight and save it. I know my boyfriend and I fairly sure he is acting like this because he's still upset that I didn't move in with him, but it's going on week 4 and I'm not sure how much more I can handle. What should I do? It sounds like your boyfriend watches too much of The Hub because he's looking at the stepsister, stepbrother adult interaction, which is completely ridiculous. I mean, how often does that really happen? I don't know. I think he's probably jealous. He's insecure. He thinks that if you're hanging out with any guy and now he thinks like, oh, well, since you're not actually related, then there's a high likeliness that because you live together that you're going to be doing things and cheating on me. But I mean, it's like, that's your family member. And now, you know what I mean? Like your parents got married. Your stepbrother is now a part of your family. And it's normal for you to be brother and sister because you have to live together and there's like a family bond now, you know? So I don't know. It sounds like your boyfriend's insecure. He's jealous. He's upset that you didn't move in, and he probably wanted you to move in now because he was jealous of the stepbrother to begin with. And now he's watching too much of The Hub and putting together these wild fantasies of step siblings banging each other, which I think is ridiculous. So I don't know what you can do to ease that because coming from someone that's extremely jealous, it's going to be very hard to overcome that without completely getting rid of them. But he's basically asking you to give up who is now your family member, and that I don't think is cool. So hopefully you can talk some sense into him, let him know that, you know, it's not this fantasy world that he lives in and that he needs to trust you, because I think it really comes down to trust. And the fact that you ate lunch in your backyard as family members doesn't mean you're cheating on him and going on dates. That's just, he's just being kind of, I don't know. I honestly think it's too much of The Hub. He's watching too many adult fantasies. So talk to him about that. That's what I would say. Anyways, that's it for today. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you like these types of videos, please consider subscribing to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you know when more videos come out. Thank you all for your continued support. I hope you're staying safe out there. If you'd like to join the Discord, the link to that's in the description below. We have an amazing community. If you also like to follow me on any of my other social medias, those links are also in the description below. If you would like to go see me on other parts of the internet. Anyways, like I said, hope you're staying safe. Thank you all for your support. And with that being said, we'll see you next time.